Hi, I'm Joe Paiva, CEO of GeoLearn, and I'm here with Wendy Lathrop. She's one of our faculty in our courses, and the particular set of courses she has done here on her first visit to us is on floods and floodplain management and the NFIP. So Wendy's had a brutal couple of days recording. It was her first experience doing this in such an intense way, and she's now showered and refreshed, has just come out of the locker room, and we thought we'd share a few moments with her so that you can learn a little bit more about Wendy, perhaps even more than you might learn in an environment where you go to a state conference and hear her speak. So Wendy, thank you so much for doing all this for us. You've been a real trooper and you've pulled off an amazing job.
I've been pleased to be here. It has been a little hot and tiring. I'm not used to speaking without an audience. It's live.
Yeah, yeah. So hopefully, so I take it this would mean that regardless of what you do for us in the future, you will want to keep your gigs where you talk to real live people as well.
I find it very rewarding to interact with people in an audience to make sure that whatever I'm presenting is something that's of use to them. I always have a core of information that I want to present to people, but then I try to, on the fly, make sure that the material is going to cover what those people in the particular audience that I'm addressing at that moment might need to make their professional lives a little bit more easy.
So I know everybody seems to know at conferences that you do a lot of stuff on floods and floodplain management. I know you have other areas of expertise, but how did you wind up in the flood area?
Well, that was kind of a roundabout thing. My first full-time job after college was working for a company that was doing the original floodplain mapping. At that point in time, the flood hazard boundary mapping for housing and urban development, because it was before FEMA had been created. And I got that job based on both my art portfolio and my portfolio of drafting background. I had wanted to be an architect at one point in my life. So I started my FEMA, my floodplain exposure with doing some of that original mapping on an approximate basis, where we were stripping cross sections from U.S. geological topo maps.
Very interesting, and so that has grown into a pretty high level of recognition, because I know that in September of 2013, I think it was, that NSPS nominated you to be on, yet again, on the Technical Mapping Advisory Council. And congratulations on that, and I assume that FEMA knows you so well that it's going to be a slam dunk as far as your place on that.
Well, it would be nice to think that. It's something I would really look forward to. So Congress reinstituted the Technical Mapping Council with the Biggert Waters Act that passed in 2012. The first mapping council was initiated by the National Flood Insurance Reform Act of 1994. And this particular council has very specific charges in terms of improving the mapping process and distribution, everything from the collection to the analysis to the distribution, in a cost-effective manner, which of course is the hardest part of the whole program. And I learned a tremendous amount by being on the first council, and I would look forward to doing it again. And of course to serving my colleagues and getting their input to bring back to this council should my nomination be accepted. I certainly hope they didn't get tired of me and decide they would prefer somebody else.
One of the things that I have noticed in the various forums and committees and things like that I've worked with you is that you're very tenacious and you're very disciplined, and you have a very good energy, mental energy to handle your tasks. And from talking with you, I think some of that maybe comes from the fact that you are a martial artist. Which types of martial arts do you practice?
Okay, so I thought you were going to say, so you're very stubborn too, which is what usually comes out is, yes, tenacious, it depends on who's talking, whether it's tenacious or stubborn. So I've been studying martial arts for 30 years now. I started in 1982. I have a 3rd degree black belt in Tang Soo Do, which is a Korean karate form. And I am also ranked in Kung Fu. Currently, the style that I am studying is a Vietnamese form called Than That Bo Dao. But I also have a black sash in Tai Chi, which I've been studying for about 22 years at this point.
So I should let our viewers know that as kind of a loosener upper, when we have been able to convince Wendy to, what do you call them? Not poses, but
well, they're kind of stances.
Stances.
So the various animals that you were asking me to show you, that's basically different fighting forms based on the spirit of the different animals. Because all of us have different emotions, and we can channel those emotions into how the spirit could be expressed in a different animal. So if you watch cats fight, they do a certain kind of a thing, and if you watch birds fight, they do a little bit different kind of a thing.
So we're not going to discuss this here, but we actually video recorded some of your stances and moves. So we'll talk afterwards about whether we can show viewers some of those stances and moves at some point. But thank you for doing that and entertaining us. And at the same time, I think it helped you prepare for the next session that you were going to do. And I think I know from other people who practice martial arts that the practice, the self-discipline, the mental discipline, seems to help them, and I'm guessing that it's probably the same for you.
There's a very big connection between being able to discipline your mind and discipline your body, because those two things together are what help you get through so many difficult things, whether they're physical or emotional in nature. Being able to recognize all of those aspects of yourself. So yes.
I want to also, or I should say, put it this way, I would be remiss if I didn't mention cadastral consulting, and specifically the fact that you run essentially a speakers bureau that sends speakers, including yourself, all over the country, maybe all over the world, to speak on various topics. Tell me how you got into that.
Well, I actually went into business for myself in 1998, in January of 1998. It was one of those things where I was in a job with a company that was going through an ownership transition and a management transition. And after a while, I realized that the stress of that situation was becoming to the point where I was becoming physically ill, and I decided it's better to just get out of this and start on my own. Or it was meant to be kind of an interim before I found another job, but I realized that I really enjoyed working for myself, and I started it as a consulting business. And then a few years later, I purchased the name of Cadastral Consulting from Dennis Moland, who had that name before, and he and I had worked together, and I had been part of his speakers bureau. When he went back to work for the federal government, he could no longer have a private business, so that's how I gained that name. And so besides the consulting that I do and the speaking that I was doing on my own, which is kind of an adjunct and not the primary part of my own business, I also inherited the ability to have the public knowledge, the public awareness of the Speakers Bureau, and to expand on that as well. So.
That's great, because I don't even know when it happened, but at some point you invited me to join your bureau. So it's kind of interesting that now we've kind of gone full circle and you're back here at GeoLearn speaking on our behalf.
It's a little better than quid pro quo.
So
I'm pleased to be here.
So thank you for doing this. I hope you enjoyed your stint at GeoLearn well enough that you will come back and do more courses, because I know you have many more areas that are of interest to you than just floods and floodplain management. So thank you for talking with us, and I hope that you will feel positive about coming back.
I do feel positive, and there is much more that I would love to share with the public at large, whether it be regarding land titles or business practices or professional practice. And thank you for the invitation to be part of GeoLearn.
Well, that will do it. Hopefully you will get a chance to see Wendy at some of her seminars that she presents live at state conferences and other places. But in the meantime, whenever you need a Wendy fix, you can come right here and get a course or two from her in this environment as well. Thank you, Wendy.